this is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. Let's get started here. I'm going to be using Melon Mambo, Pacific Point, a Mango Melody, and Memento black ink. I'm going to be using the detailed trio punch, pair of snips. I've got 3 blending brushes. I'll be using some dimensionals. Tiny little piece of the gingham ribbon. I have a scrap of old olive, a scrap that is at least 3/4 of an inch wide of black, a scrap of white, which is big enough to die cut out a tag with, a scrap of black that's big enough to die cut out the palm tree with, a 2.5 by 4 1/4 inch piece of white that I've run through the greenery dye. It was a scrap I had. 3 3/4 by 5 inch piece of crumbcake. 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of black. 5.5 by 8.5 piece of thick scored and folded at 4 1/4. Okay, these ones we'll put aside. Put aside for a minute. We're also using Oceanfront. I'm using this stamp here from it. You could maybe use this one as well. Stamp on the crumb cake if you wanted to add more dimension, but I don't know if it needs it. I'm going to be bringing out this die, this die. These are tailor-made tags. I'm using these dies, palm dies. I'm using this die and this die. This is the greenery one that the white one was already cut with. Okay, so let's bring in our mini cut and emboss machine. We'll actually do this right here. Open this up. I'll put it this way, then you can actually see what I'm doing. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in this black scrap. And my sandwich for die cutting is 1 and 2 plates. So let's put this one down first. Put my paper down. Put the palm tree on there. I actually might be able to do both of them off of this one piece, so I think I will do that. Put the another number 2 plate on and crank it through. Okay, that cut out nicely. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'm just going to stick this in this magnetic bowl for now so I know where all the pieces, where they are. I'll have to pick out those little pieces, but other than that, that looks good. Okay, now I'm going to flip my plate over. I'm going to bring in this die, and I think it'll fit on here, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Put it right on here. Go ahead and put another plate on top. And run that through. Oops, it's crooked. Let's straighten it out. There we go. do have to hold this machine down a little bit to crank. Okay, that's that one. Awesome. Okay. Now, let's bring in the tag and the white scrap, and I'm going to turn my plate over again. If you keep flipping those plates, there's less likelihood of them warping, or they will warp, but they, you know, I don't know, it just helps. Go ahead and run this through. And it will make that cracking noise. That's perfectly normal. There's that piece. The last bit of die cutting is on this scrap paper. Of old olive. I need these 3 little reinforcement holes. I think that's what they're called. Okay, perfect. Put those over here so I don't lose them. Let's move this machine. Put it away. It folds up nicely. Just have one of these little boxes. It just sits right in there, along with all of my plates. Alright, so let's go to assemble. I'm going to bring in a foam mat so I can do my stamping. And take your pick tool. These should just fall out. Just rubbing your finger over them. The first one I ran it through with white paper and it all stuck in the plate. It was awesome. I didn't have to pop out a single piece. This is a thicker black paper. All these out. Okay, pick up the ones out of here, get them done and over with the poking. So you can pick up all these little black pieces off my desk. Alright, this can go in the trash. Alright, now we can start assembling this card. Okay, let's bring in this piece. I'll actually move this. I'm going to start with Mango Melody ink. I'll just tap this on there a little bit. I don't need much ink. Tap some off onto my, this is plastic, it's a ink blotter for a desk. And I'm just going to do the top half here very lightly. I don't want a lot of color, just a little bit. Very subtle. Okay, then I'm going to go in with Mango Melody for the next color. Again, I'm just going to tap it on here. You can rub it if you want more color. I don't want a lot of color, so I'm not gonna tap off a little bit. Go lightly. Middle section there. Come back with that yellow one, overlap the pink a little bit. And I'm doing horizontal swipes rather than circles because I want it to look like a horizon almost. Okay, then we're going to come in with Pacific Point. This one you got to dab off quite a bit. I'm going to do the bottom part with the Pacific Point. Okay, looks good. I'm going to bring in a rag. This is Stampin' Mist. I'm just going to spritz one little spritz on my desk. You can use hand sanitizer, that works good too. Wipe this ink off. Alright, now we can assemble this. Oh, I still have one more bit of stamping to do. Let's bring this in. The scratch paper. There we go. And this stamp here. I'm going to stamp this across the bottom. Go lower. And a little higher again. Okay. Now we're going to bring in our tree. I'm going to use the Tombow multi-glue. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this. And I'm not going all the way over on this edge because it'll hang off. And I'm putting this right about here. Coming in with my snips, turning it over, snipping that off the bottom. Okay. I'm going to come in with this, and the end that has the largest piece there, I'm going to put some glue on that. It's 4 across, so I think I'm going to just put a little glue on the back of this to 4 of those little sections. This is going to get glued across the bottom. You want to push it over just a hair because it's almost too wide for the tag. It's going to hang over the edges just a little bit on the back. Instead of turning it over, I'm going to look at this side, and where these sections are, I'm going to cut just beyond that section. Okay. Then I'm going to, on this piece, this section doesn't have a ridge, so I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to cut that piece that doesn't have one off, and then I'm going to turn it because it's easier for me to cut from this side. I'm going to cut past that so it's got a little border on both sides, and I'm going to do that 2 more times. So I'm going to come up to this one, snip off here, and I'm going to snip off here. It gives me another box, and then I need one more, so snip off here and snip off here. Okay, so that gives me 3 that have edges. Alright, now we're going to take one of these reinforcers. I just used this color because it was a scrap I had on my desk when I was playing, but I just went with it because it kind of looked nice. I put one on one side. We don't have to do this because it's not going to show, but I did put one on the other side because it gave it a little bit more dimension. Added that thickness so it stood off the other one. Whoops, this way. The flat edge goes to the top. Okay, make sure they're both scooched over where. Oops. Okay. I'm going to bring in this piece that has the greenery cut out of it. It's 2.5 by 4 1/4. I'm going to bring this one up and I'm going to kind of center it on there so you can see the angles. I'm going to come in with my snips and I'm going to leave like a, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, and I'm going to snip straight, kind of following this as a guide. Because this is the largest of the tags, so I'm making my own tag. Now I'm going to bring in the detailed trio punch, and there's this one end that will punch a little hole. I'm going to center that up in there best I can. Push it so that it's all the way in the back. Punch. And then that third little hole reinforcer is going to go on this one. Didn't end up very straight, but or very centered, but you get the idea. Oh, that's actually not too bad. Okay, now I took that piece of ribbon, I folded it in half, I placed this one on top of this one, went in from the front, just pulled it part way through till I had a loop, pulled those two ends through the loop, through to the back, and tightened it up. Okay, then I'm going to bring in some scissors that'll actually cut ribbon. They're all gunked up. I'm going to snip those a little bit shorter. Okay, so there's the tag part. Now, oops, I got glue on this. Let's bring in the card itself. I'm going to take the 3 3/4 by 5 inch piece of crumb cake, and I'm going to marry it or adhere it to the 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of black. It's going to have 1/8 of an inch border because it's a 1/4 inch smaller than the black piece. And then I'm going to marry this to the front of my card, adhere it to the front of the card, and again it's going to have that 1/8 of an inch border because it's a 1/4 of an inch smaller. Okay, now for the tag, I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of the white tag. I'm going to take 2 dimensionals, put them on the bottom of the little tag, just on the bottom of it. I'm going to turn the tag, the top tag, so that it's hiding the top of that tag just a little bit. Doesn't hang off much. Maybe 1/4 of an inch. Tear that down. Take the backs off of these ones. And I'm gonna, both tags are gonna be a little bit crooked, but this palm tree one is gonna be almost straight. Set it down when you like it. And the finishing touch is to come in with these little squares that we cut. I'm going to put one here. Just putting a little bit of glue on the back. Put one here. I'm going to put one down here. And there you go. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one we did previously. Thank you so much for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.